Is Spider-Man No Way Home still hiding its biggest secret? Spider-Man does whatever a spider can, which apparently means having each and every part of it leak out over the course of months and months. And in the case of Spider-Man No Way Home, I struggle to think of another film that's had so many major plot points leak in recent memory, except maybe like Thor: Love and Thunder. From returning Spider-Man villains of yesteryear to alleged extremely grainy set photos revealing character cameos, it feels like we already know exactly what's going to happen in this movie. Or do we? With the press tour just around the corner, Tom Holland hasn't spilled the beans quite yet, and speculation about Spider-Man No Way Home remains at an all-time high. And I do mean speculation in every sense of the word. Between fistfights in the streets and scalpers trying to flip opening night tickets on eBay, people are losing their damn minds over Peter Parker's latest adventure.
Do you have any idea how much tickets cost?
No.
And the biggest rumor of all about this movie feels like a foregone conclusion. Based on some highly suspect editing choices in the trailers, Tom Holland's Peter Parker will almost definitely team up with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Peter Parkers to save the day. And it's that rumor in particular that has fans champing at the bit to see No Way Home as soon as humanly possible. But what if that's actually a smokescreen for a much bigger reveal, one that could have massive implications for the future of the MCU as we know it? Now, according to a new theory from our resident multiverse maven, Rosie Knight, that might just be the case. And if you prefer to read all about it, Rosie has you covered over on Nerdist.com, which I will link to in the description below. We're going to break this down for you in just a moment, but considering that the film is just around the corner, you might be someone that wants to avoid even potential spoilers. And if that applies to you, now's your chance to leave before you see something that you probably shouldn't.
Don't.
Now let's start with the facts. In Spider-Man No Way Home, Peter Parker is dealing with the fallout of being doxxed by Mysterio and J. Jonah Jameson at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. Desperate to put the cat back in the bag, Peter does what any teenager his age would, he turns to the occult. But unfortunately, he interrupts Doctor Strange mid-incantation and the whole thing goes sideways. But not like Paul Giamatti sideways, he's not in this.
This is not end, Spider!
As for who's actually returning, we know that Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, and the Sandman from the Sam Raimi Spidey films, and Electro and Lizard from the Amazing Spider-Man films will be joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe to wreak all manner of havoc, or in Doc Ock's case, presumably to help Peter put things right. And unless Lizard is just jumping to his death because he can't bear the thought of waiting another month to finally see Morbius, then there are almost definitely other Spider-Mans waiting in the wings to help our Peter save the day. And while this has been the talk of the town for months and months and months, it could also be masking a bigger reveal that's alluded to in the most recent Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. The latest trailer firmly establishes the Marvel Cinematic Universe as getting visitors from every universe as a result of that spell gone awry. In what appears to be the aftermath of Peter's climactic battle with the sinister Several at the Statue of Liberty construction site, we see an exhausted-looking Doctor Strange and Peter as massive flows of energy erupt in the sky. These crackling purple lines evoke the same magical energy that erupted from the Sanctum Sanctorum's magical murder basement when Strange was casting his spell. And they also feel reminiscent of the same representations of the multiverse being reborn during the finale of Loki, following the death of He Who Remains at Sylvie's hands. More important, though, is Doctor Strange. He's desperately trying to do something about these rifts that are emerging from thin air. Yelling to Peter, he says, "They're starting to come through and I can't stop them." And if you look at the Statue of Liberty, much of the scaffolding is gone and it's no longer holding that gaudy Captain America shield, which collapses during the big fight. And this suggests that Peter and Doctor Strange are having this moment in the aftermath of that battle. Given the presence of that magical mystery box as well, maybe whatever happens during that fight deepens the fractures in the fabric of the multiverse and tears an even bigger hole in it, one that Doctor Strange can't seal off despite his impressive mystical powers. According to the theory, the they who are coming through could be even more visitors from other universes, and that in turn will lead us directly into the events of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. What if, instead of simply getting a bevy of Spider-Man villains and a pack of Peter Parkers, we're also getting other massive cameos from Marvel characters of yesteryear? Rumors have already been swirling about Sir Patrick Stewart reprising his role as Professor Charles Xavier, but what about Sir Ian McKellen as Magneto, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, or even Chris Evans as Johnny Storm? Now, this isn't to suggest they're going to be the official MCU versions of the Fantastic Four or the X-Men, because we know for a fact they have plans for both of those properties in the MCU as we move forward. Rather, it could be a barrage of familiar faces and nostalgic nods intended to hammer home the point about all of these universes colliding as the multiverse begins to tear apart at the seams. It would also neatly lay the groundwork for the metaphysical mess that Doctor Strange will inevitably have to mop up in the Multiverse of Madness, alongside characters like Wong, Scarlet Witch, and America Chavez. Now, obviously, this presents a number of challenges from a licensing and legal perspective, because while Disney now owns Fox, which was previously a separate entity that held the rights for the X-Men and the Fantastic Four properties, Sony maintains the rights for Spider-Man, and they're able to make these movies in the MCU by working in tandem with Disney and Marvel Studios through a profit-sharing agreement, and that lets each other play in the other sandbox up to a specific point. Given that the film is co-produced by Columbia Pictures and Marvel Studios and released by Sony, Disney might not want to unload all these high-profile cameos in a movie that's already packed to the gills with returning fan favorites. However, with that said, teasing the arrival of major Marvel characters like that could be a fantastic way to show fans that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness will be required viewing, even if they wind up being mere multiversal variants. As Rosie pointed out in her article, using No Way Home as a vehicle to reintroduce these characters to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and establish they exist in other universes could reduce the need for retreading origin stories in future phases of the MCU when we finally get those Fantastic Four and X-Men projects. It will also provide a sense of scope for the multiverse as we know it, and some potentially friendly and not so friendly faces that our heroes might encounter in the highly anticipated Doctor Strange sequel. Of course, as with any theory, this is all speculation for the time being until proven one way or another. And while it could certainly happen in the final moments of Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm personally of the mind that Marvel and Disney want to save big potential reveals like this for a film they'll reap 100% of the box office from. Now, that isn't to say it can't happen, but if it does, I think they'll just tease us with like an off-screen voice like they do in the end of Eternals, or maybe with some familiar-looking silhouettes rather than giving it all away now, because let's face it, this movie has so many characters in it already. Thankfully, though, we won't have to wait too much longer to find out one way or another, because Spider-Man No Way Home finally hits theaters on December 17th, assuming, of course, you can find tickets, that is.
Lucky for us, we got the best seats in the house.
In the meantime, though, tell us, what do you think of this theory? Which unannounced characters, if any, do you think we'll actually see in Spider-Man No Way Home? And what other character from the Marvel Multiverse would you most like to see in the MCU?
Where do all these guys come from?
Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to like and share this video with your friends, and subscribe to Nerdist for even more awesome content. And thwip that notification bell to make sure you get your Peter tingle whenever we drop a brand new video. And as always, for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, make sure you stay tuned to Nerdist.com.